The U.S. Navy's robot submarine chaser is sailing closer to deployment. Sea Hunter, DARPA's prototype automated warship, has been transferred to the Office of Naval Research for further development. From there, it's possible that the vessel could join the fleet this year. ONR will continue developing the revolutionary prototype vehicle, the first of what could ultimately become an entirely new class of ocean-going vessel able to traverse thousands of kilometers over open seas for months at a time, without a single crew member aboard, as the Medium Displacement Unmanned Surface Vehicle, MDUSV, read the DARPA announcement. Sea Hunter began life in 2010 as DARPA's anti-submarine warfare continuous trail unmanned vessel, ACTOV, project, which aimed to design a crewless vessel that could autonomously sail to distant waters in search of diesel submarines. The MDUSV carries no weapons but does possess a powerful sonar. Once a target is detected, say, a 17-knot...
With Secretary Kerry, a lot of those efforts, did not bear fruit, but there was a hearty effort in terms of trying to
I don't think that anyone could argue that we have not made very strong efforts, stronger efforts, many would argue, than the previous administration on the issue of dealing with Syria. And that is, we've talked about that many times before. So the Secretary is fully committed to this. This is something that he is highly focused on, and the conversations and the diplomatic discussions will not stop. But I'm not going to be able to read out every single diplomatic discussion or conversation that takes place.
Well, could you just, can you at least, characterize what his discussions with Foreign Minister Lavrov in the last week have been on this issue?
Elise, I'm not going to pin the Secretary down to reading out all of the diplomatic conversations.
Well, is he talking to the Russian Foreign Minister about it?
We are having lots of conversations with many other countries. We are calling out Russia for its responsibility that it has. I would encourage you to also ask these very same questions of the Russian government. What is it doing to try to prevent the deaths of civilians in Syria? The Secretary is committed to this, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, if you could take the question, because specifically,
I'm sorry, what is the question?
The question is specifically, what are the discussions with the Russians right now about trying to negotiate an end to this? Because I'm not saying that
I'm not sure that they are, based on their actions, I don't think that they appear to be interested in ending this. However, I will go back and point to the president and Vladimir Putin's joint statement that they put out in Vietnam late last year, and that is where they agreed to the Geneva process. Let me go back and quote some of this for you as soon as I can find it. The presidents agreed that there is no military solution to the conflict in Syria. They confirmed that the ultimate political solution to the conflict must be forged through the Geneva process pursuant to UNSCR 2254. They also took note of President Assad's recent commitment to the Geneva process and constitutional reform and elections as called for under UNSCR 2254. Okay, those are commitments that the Russians made. They've not lived up to those commitments.
Okay, the question, if you could take it, is beyond, having conversations with partners and allies, specifically what is being done today.
Elise, I'm not going to have an answer for you on that because the Secretary continues to have conversations. Some of those are private diplomatic conversations with the Russian government and with other governments as well. That is my answer. Okay. Anything else on this issue?
Well, I would just, the previous administration also tried this tactic of calling Russia out and so.
Russian Kilo-class sub, the 27-knot Sea Hunter is fast enough to continuously maintain contact until armed ships and planes show up to finish the job. For a yacht-sized vessel just 132 feet long and 145 tons fully loaded, Sea Hunter's stats are impressive. It has a maximum speed of 27 knots, and a range of 9,000 nautical miles at a speed of 15 knots, 4,000 nautical miles at 18 knots, and 2,800 nautical miles at 24 knots. It can operate in sea state 5, 8 to 13 foot waves, and can survive sea state 7, 20 to 30 foot waves. And all of this on a ship that can sail on a 70-day mission without a living person aboard. The ship's AI is designed to be captain and crew, though a human operator can take command of a sea hunter from a control station on shore. That means the fleet commander can push a button, and it will arrive in Bahrain, about 8,300 nautical miles away, declared former Deputy Secretary of Defense Robert Work when the ship was christened in 2016. I had a chance to go aboard Sea Hunter during the christening in Portland, Oregon. The first thing you notice is how narrow the ship is, at just 11 feet wide. But no crew quarters, galleys or lavatories means no need for a larger hull to sustain pesky and demanding bipeds. Will the concept work? Anti-submarine warfare would seem the perfect task for a robot, slow, painstaking and tedious. A long-range automated sub-hunter, or better yet, squadrons of automated sub-hunters, could stalk elusive prey much more cheaply than manned anti-submarine ships, submarines and planes. And why stop with sub-busting? DARPA has also tested Sea Hunter with minesweeping gear and tethered airborne sensors. There is no technical reason why Sea Hunter couldn't be armed, either, though DARPA has said nothing about weaponizing an autonomous vessel. It's not that unmanned surface vessels, or USVs, don't already exist. Navies are developing a variety of craft for reconnaissance, minesweeping or even arming them for combat missions, such as Israel's Protector ships. But these tend to be speedboat-sized vessels, with the Protector coming to only about 30 feet long and weighing about 4 tons. Sea Hunter dwarfs them. DARPA and now ONR are paying great attention to ensuring that Sea Hunter complies with the international regulations for preventing collisions at sea, or COLREGs, which specify which vessels have right-of-way and which must give way. The elephant in the room, or whale in the ocean, is the issue of autonomy. A Predator drone at least has a pilot at the controls. For Sea Hunter to work, a yacht-sized ship must be able to sail across the ocean without endangering other ships. Nonetheless, even human-crewed ships frequently collide, as the U.S. Navy discovered recently. Just the fact that a yacht-sized ship might be sailing the ocean under the control of a computer is bound to raise the blood pressure of a few old salts.
full-scale military operation from Russia in 2015, as you noted. So what makes you think this time this administration's calling out of Russia is going to make the situation any better?
Matt, I don't know what some of you expect us to do. We have a full range of options through the interagency that are available to us if we want to or if we should need to use those. Our best tool, what we do out of this building, is an attempt at diplomacy, an attempt to shine a spotlight on things that are taking place around the world. That's what I'm doing. That's what many of my colleagues are doing all around the globe right now. We will continue to do that. We will continue to take action at the UN Security Council. We will continue to have our people there on the ground, frankly. We have Americans who are there who are assisting Syrians try to get back to a normal life. I don't know what more you expect us to do. You have seen this government, this administration, go hard after ISIS. They have done that at a level that the previous administration did not do. We are succeeding there in the fight against ISIS, okay? And that is the whole reason why we're there. And then there's this other issue,
No,
right?
that's not the whole reason why this conflict started. I'm sorry.
No, I said the reason we are there is to defeat ISIS. That is the reason that U.S. forces are there. That is the U.S. government policy. You may disagree with that, but that is what our policy is. We're there to defeat ISIS. Okay?
No one's saying that you didn't make significant efforts and progress even in defeating ISIS. The question on the table is, what are the diplomatic efforts that this administration
just described?
You haven't. I'm sorry.
I'm
you
sorry
haven't
you
described.
disagree with me. Okay, I would encourage you to go talk to the Russian government and see what they're trying to do to save some lives.
Heather, can
okay?
I just turn that, just flip it slightly? If the U.S. mission is to defeat ISIS, is that another way of saying it's not the mission to deal with the violence and that this is Russia's responsibility,
No,
which you've
Russia
stressed?
has a unique responsibility.
But
Russia
does the
has
US
a unique
have-
responsibility when Russia has air assets
Right.
in the air.
Does the US
when
see it as
Russia
part of
is
its mission?
bolstering the government of Bashar al-Assad, they have a responsibility. We are not providing weapons and material to the government of Bashar al-Assad. We are not aiding in the killing of innocent civilians as Bashar al-Assad is doing.
Does the
our
US
forces are
think it
there
has a
in the east, and
responsibility
our
to help
forces
ease
are
the
fighting
violence?
ISIS.
Does the U.S. feel like it has a responsibility to help ease the violence and what's happening in East Ghouta? Is that seen as part of the mission?
Some of these things are things that we will not be able to talk about, okay? Some of these things will become intelligence matters and other issues as well.
Sounds like
okay?
a no.
Pardon me?
That
No,
sounds like a
you
no.
cannot take that as a no. You cannot take that as a no.
Thank you.
Okay? Go ahead.
Last week I asked you, I'm sorry, I
Go
asked you
right
whether or
ahead.
not you
Go-
had a
Connor,
responsibility
hold on.
to protect
Connor,
civilians
excuse
in
me.
Syria, though.
Excuse me, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Paul from AFP. You said that we have a whole range of options, and then you said, I don't know what else you expect us to do.
Mm-hmm.
So those don't square up, and there's like 400 people who have been bombed, who've been killed over the past few days.
We do have
And
a range of options.
What are those
When I
range of
say-
options,
hold on,
or what can
hold
you
on.
do?
When I say I don't know what you expect us to do, I don't know what you expect me to do here from this podium. Stop.
Diplomatic efforts are.
Elise, and some of these are private diplomatic conversations, okay? I'm not, enough of this already, because I already said UN Security Council resolutions, I've detailed those. I've detailed some of the conversations we've had with other governments. I've detailed our statements that we have provided, not just here at the State Department, but also the White House as well. So we are fully engaged. We have, as you know, a very large government with a lot of various departments, and we have a full range of options before us and ahead of us that we can use. It is not my position, not my role to be able to say what we will do. Some of those can be defined by other agencies that I can't speak to.
Okay, can I follow that up? Can you give us any information about whether there's a possibility at the UN to reach a ceasefire? What the Russians
I certainly hope there would
are
be.
but what are the Russians asking for? What are they standing this up for?
I don't have all the details about what precisely the Russians
Mm-hmm.
are asking for in UN actions, but we have seen when Russia has tried to develop its own mechanism, like when they tried to develop their own mechanism for the equivalent of a joint investigative mechanism, they throw a wrench into it. With a joint investigative mechanism, for example, they wanted to give themselves the ability to veto it, to veto the decision by the new version of the joint investigative mechanism. So we're a little skeptical that Russia is going to be an honest broker in a UN-led ceasefire. We want a UN-led ceasefire. We'll continue to call for that. Okay?
One final thing. The Raj Shah just referred to the Assad government with Russian backing as guilty of war crimes, but not in this specific case. In the case of Eastern Ghouta, do you find that Assad is guilty of war crimes?
Last I checked, I'm not a judge. That would be up for a court to decide, but certainly the crimes that he is accused of committing could potentially meet that standard.
Do you think he needs to be pursued to a court?
I'm not. That would be me creating policy, and I'm not in the position to create policy on behalf of the U.S. government. Okay, Laura.